And it's 43 for 1. Young playing nicely for his 6th not out. And Conway's on 27. Who's going to open? Ollie Stone's going to start up from the city end. Alison's going to start here.
Thank you, Aggies. Yeah, fascinating chat that at lunchtime as well. But Ollie Stone down at the city end of the ground has the ball in his hands. 3 slips are in place. Crowd starting to make their way back to their seats after lunch. They've been moving around the stadium. I can see they Flintstones in the crowd, orange with black spots on their gear. Ollie Stone then into Conway, who's on 27. 43 for 1, New Zealand resuming outside the off stump with good carry through to Bracey. Through the ball goes Will Young at the other end. 6 not out off 23. Stuart Broad, the 1 wicket taker in that morning session. Got Tom Latham, the stand-in captain. Balls of slightly fuller length that nipped back. Broad had him LBW. There was a lot of conversation, certainly in our wellness room that we have here at Edgbaston.
Yes.
about the catch, whether it was a clean catch. Hello, Tuffers.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Stone in, blonde haired, over the wicket he bowls, down the leg side. It's a diving take by Bracey, and he hangs onto it cleanly, full stretch along the ground, sliding down leg side.
Bit of discussion, wasn't there?
Yes.
We had the rule book out.
Well, we did start to look at the semantics of exactly the wording of the law, because that question of the replay looked really as if the ball sort of lodged across 2 spread fingers, and possible that the very bottom of the ball touching the grass at the same time, which is what presumably really you've got to go on in terms of the not out decision. And Stone is in outside the off stump, driving square. It's going to be 4, 2 fielders in hot pursuit. I don't think Burns is going to get there, and it's a boundary in the first over after lunch.
Cool. He looks good, Conway, doesn't he? Very natural player outside that off stump, just sort of leans into it. No sort of trigger movements or anything, just looks like a guy who knows how to bat. Just looks like a good batsman, doesn't he?
The away swinger from Stone. Doesn't enjoy anything outside off.
Yeah, I think that's why the England guys was kind of a bit upset, because they know what a player he is and how hard he is going to get out.
It's a leg gully in place as well. Stone in again to Conway, outside off stump, a little wider this time, the shouldering of arms, lets it go through to the keeper. So we did look up the law, didn't we?
Have you read? Shall we read it out, or have we done it before?
Well, it's worth the read, isn't it?
Yes,
Just
I think so.
This sense of, what if the ball is touching the ground at the same time as the fingers are underneath it? And the law is very clear that this is law 32. Out caught, the strike is out caught if a ball delivered by the bowler, not being a no ball, touches the bat without having previously been in contact with any fielder, and is subsequently held by a fielder as a fair catch before it touches the ground.
Right.
So if it's touching the ground simultaneously as you hold the catch, come back in on Conway, close to the bodies, defending with an angled bat out towards point, and there's no run, then yes, it's not out if there is simultaneous contact, i.e. if your fingers are spread and the ball might well land on the fingers, but perhaps the very...
Yeah. It's very difficult to then like catching the slip as if you were wearing mittens, if you know what I mean. Because that it's just not natural to do that. You do naturally sort of spread the fingers and let the ball come into the hands.
Conway's waiting is on 31. Stone bounds in full, coming forward, defending off the inside half of the bat. The ball ends up to Broad at mid-on to complete the opening over. And the boundary coming off it, 47 for 1 New Zealand in reply to England's 303 all out.
I thought it was out.
It felt out, didn't it? The bowlers felt it was out.
Yeah.
And Zach Crawley didn't look completely convinced when he surfaced, so to speak.
Yeah.
But there's a question about the soft signal, I guess, a debate to be had.
If the soft signal had been given out, I think the catch would have been upheld.
Yeah. Oh, well, it absolutely would have. That's same preface as with DRS, the umpire's call. And that's maintaining the overall authority of the on-field umpire. Here's the cheer for James Anderson. He's rolling his arm over, getting ready to bowl.
So, do we agree with the soft signal then?
Well, here's a question. Should, in that case, in the instance of a catch like that, should the soft signal come immediately from the umpires? In a sense, yes, that goes with our instinct of whether it's out or not out, straight away. Anderson in outside the off-stumper, shouldering of arms through to the keeper.
Yeah.
Or should, in fact, the soft signal be done away with in that first instance. Throw it up to the third umpire.
I'm going for that
who
one.
can then look at the TV evidence without, in a sense, bias, without having any sense of what the on-field umpires thought.
Yes.
So is there clear evidence, yes or no? But then what if the TV umpire really can't sort of decide himself?
Well, someone's got to.
Well, then throw it back down to the on-field umpires at that point. Anderson in, little Titron off stump, defending, drops it into the offside, no run.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I guess then you get to the benefit of the doubt. But then in this case, the third umpire said he thought it had clearly touched the ground.
Well, why
I don't
didn't
think
he
it
go upstairs?
No, so I don't think it would have made any difference of this particular instance, whether there was a soft signal or not, because the TV umpire said he thought
In
it had
his
hit the
opinion,
ground.
he gave it not out. Yeah, there would be an instance where the TV umpire finds it inconclusive.
Yeah.
And then at that point, do you throw it back down?
Yeah.
And then the on-field umpires, as Anderson is in again, following on off stump, drop and run this time to the offside. Young scampers through. Lawrence picks up and there's no run. So I suppose then you go back to the on-field umpires. Is it right that they can make a call based on having seen the TV evidence?
Get the lawyers involved.
Yes.
But it means that the umpires on the ground are then, they would have had in their mind a sense of what my initial feeling was, but then they add that to some additional evidence, albeit inconclusive, from the TV screen. It just adds a little bit more to their picture, perhaps.
Yes, I kind of like the scenario that you just said, that if the umpires aren't sure, go straight upstairs.
But then come back to the on-field umpires if the TV evidence is not conclusive. And then you can say, OK, umps, you've seen the TV evidence and you know what your instinct was a few moments ago when the incident happened, so now give us your final verdict.
OK. Not a bad scenario.
Maybe. Then you love the laws of the game and regulations.
I know.
Anderson in, the left-handed Conway, and he's defending into the offside. Broad's there to pick up. Well, Stuart Broad made his feelings very clear. Wait to see whether that will land him in hot water
well,
later.
Yeah, is his dad here? Is his dad?
He is.
He's looking after everyone.
Chris Broad is the match referee.
Yeah,
but I believe that I think in this instance they would always bring in a third-party match referee, probably by video link somewhere else in the world.
Is there a second match referee? Is there, just in case these cases happen?
Well, I think there is.
Wow.
Anderson in straight at that time, and Conway takes one hand off the bottom of the bat as he defends into the offside once more. No run.
Wow. All I know is that over the years that I played, I've seen a hell of a lot of catches taken like that at slip and walk off.
Given.
Yeah, because you just feel, I don't know, the fingers are spread, but they're under the ball,
The batter will never walk to a low catch these days.
No, absolutely not. No.
Wait and see the evidence. Back of the length from Anderson, swung away. I've got glove bat on this, down to the fine leg boundary for 4. But Anderson dropping short. And it brings up the 50 for New Zealand, 52 for 1. Now 251 behind.
Yeah, they're playing nicely, aren't they? We mentioned this morning, Ali, that sometimes at Edgbaston the pitch can flatten out on the second day. There is sometimes a little bit of two-pace sort of nature about it on day one, but it's still a good pitch. And then you come back to day 2, and it's even better for batting on, and it's looking a bit like that. It hasn't swung so much, has it? It hasn't nipped around as much as it did yesterday for the New Zealand bowlers, and England are going to have to dig in and really apply themselves here to prize out these New Zealanders. Conway's just looking $1 million again, isn't he?
Yeah.
For that 200. His confidence is high. It's going to be a tough chap to get out, I think.
Yeah, and worth remembering his backstory, his journey. 2017 when he moved from South Australia to New Zealand. Stone bounds in now, and forward is Young. The onside defensively and no run. Yeah, Conway
He's making the most of it.
In South Africa, playing the second tier of the provincial cricket over there. And he made a point of saying during the Lord's Test match that he had sold his car and sold his house and moved. And the real reason for that was psychological, that if you move to a country, you're really all in. He felt if he still owned property, still had a car back in South Africa, that he wouldn't really be all in New Zealand. Bouncer from Stone, ducking underneath it is Young, and through into the gloves of Bracey.
Yes, it shows a determination and as you said, an all-in nature.
Yeah, so no looking back, is it? If you've moved country and you've got no home to
It's a
go back
focused,
to.
it's a focused kind of mindset, that, isn't it? And what you need to open the batting is exactly that mindset. You know, I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm going to make sure I use every opportunity. I'm not going to have a little dart at a wide one. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's doing well.
Young stands back, poised in the air, stone and edge, taken, not dropped. There was a juggle at first slip, and Joe Root, the captain, is getting up off the ground. Ollie Stone can't believe it. The ball was in his hands. It was a juggle. It was fired in quickly. A healthy edge high off the blade of the bat.
Oh, it's pretty regulation as well. And Joe Root, such a good slip fielder. Oh, he's gone for it 2 or 3 times and he's downed it. Yeah, it was a real juggle in the jumper, in the midriff. And Ollie Stone thought that was out. He was running down the wicket to congratulate the skipper.
Oh, how many of those he'd hold in catching practice. Stone in again to Young, full this time, honing in on the stumps, and Young's defending solidly back up the pitch.
So good in the slips usually, Joe Root. He's got a fantastic pair of hands, but it just goes to show no slip catch is easy, and that was pretty easy. As he said, a nice healthy edge and just on the move and sort of falling to, you know, only probably about, you know, sort of thigh height. That's a nice comfortable height.
Everything looked well timed, didn't it?
Yeah.
Root falling away to his right hand side, the bent knee, the hands in the right place. Stone in once more, past the outside edge through to the keeper, drawing Young forward. This is a probing over from Stone.
Just hit him on the heel. Just sort of hit him on that sort of, that's the heel of the hand, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, just sort of just hit him on the heel of the hand, which made it bounce a bit instead of going into the palm. Disappointed with that, Joe.
Will Young remains on 7. Last ball to come in this Ollie Stone over.
Makes me laugh when you say Will Young remains on 7. I don't know why. Well, I do know why.
In comes Stone. Past the umpire in, up the outside edge of the bat, but into the ground and out to Burns, who's at backward point to end an over where Stone should have had a wicket.
Yeah.
Young dropped on 7, 52 for 1, New Zealand.
Yeah, it's that kind of wicket, I think, and that kind of day when you get these little half chances, they've got to go your way, and a couple of them haven't gone England's way.
Well, that could be a difference, couldn't it? Because when you look at the number of catches that were on offer in the New Zealand, in the England innings that New Zealand held.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
Mitchell, fantastic by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Caught a couple of blinders.
Blundell, 3 catches behind the stumps. Latham caught 1. Yeah, Mitchell 2.
Yeah, he looked very good, Mitchell.
No mistakes. Oh, yeah, could be a costly one.
Yeah, they're tricky though. I mean, I know to my cost that every time it goes up in the air, it needs to be caught. It's not it's not like shelling peas.
Anderson from the pavilion end in now and past the outside edge of Conway's bat this time.
It's a beauty.
Moving away from the left-hander. It's 35 of 85 balls.
Just feel the intensity's just gone up a level here, don't you? You feel that England are really pushing here. A couple of things not gone their way, but Jimmy Anderson's looking even grumpier, which is usually a sign that he's realising that you've got to do some hard yards here if you're going to get any rewards.
Yeah, real focusing of the minds required. Anderson runs in past the umpire and straighter on off stump. Conway defends, and Anderson doing a little bit of keepy-uppy.
That's a great shot he's got there, and I know it's not particularly a glamorous shot or anything. You know, it's just a left-hander to a lovely sort of like angled across delivery on a good length, on and around middle and off stump, just going towards the slip, and he just stops it. So nice. You know, just gets in a great position just to put that dead bat on it and just completely risk-free. It's not pokey, it's not flicky.
Anderson in again.
There.
Yep. He's a little higher from the crease, but it's like he absorbs the delivery.
Exactly, just boom, complete dead bat on it. And you know, a lot of perhaps the English guys I've seen who have been opening the batting over the years, you know, sometimes their techniques just perhaps, you know, get a little bit anxious and push out at it, or just a wrist flick at it. But they should take a leaf out of Devon Conway.
He's 29 years old, isn't he? As Anderson's in, getting behind this one, high front elbow, straighter from Anderson, but again, just drops into the ground by his feet, and Crawley's having to come forward from his position to cover to field. But yeah, making your Test debut at the age of 29, you've got a bank of first-class experience and years behind you, where you've been honing your technique, probably learning by your mistakes at a much lower level. And you've got England players making their way into the Test game at 22, 23, who are learning and making those mistakes on the job. Forward again to the onside this time to Anderson. Picked up short mid-wicket and there is no run.
Also, he sold his motor in his house. I'm not going to have a wild hack at one else.
You wouldn't, would you? I mean, it's a major decision. Move countries to pursue your career like that.
Yeah.
He did it with his...
You'd want to make sure your technique's up to scratch, wouldn't you, Travis?
Conway settles. Crowd finding their voice after lunch, and Anderson's in, and again, gentle, but that defence, everything working like clockwork for Conway.
Yep.
The score remains on 52 for 1.
Such a contrast as well between Rory Burns. It just goes to show there are many ways to play this game, isn't there? Rory Burns is, heads bobbing and back lift this and the trigger movement back and across, and so many moving parts, as we always say about his technique. But Devon Conway, very sort of static, but also in a nice rhythm. He just gets himself in a lovely place. He's impressed me. I think New Zealand have found a class player for many years to come. He looks completely at home at Test cricket.
It's all working quite neatly for New Zealand as well, isn't it? The fact that Tom Blundell was the opener alongside Latham, but now they've got Conway, but then Watling's going to retire, so Blundell can be the future wicket keeper as he's doing today. Stone again, 3 slips in place still. Forward. Young, the outside half of the bat, in front of square, fielded by Pope in the covers. Root's got he's been fielding in a sleeveless sweater all day, hasn't he? I didn't think it was actually that chilly outside. He's got his arms folded, just a little kick of the turf, and he's back in the position where he dropped Young the over before. Sibley to his right-hand side, and Crawley is at third slip. Burns backward point, cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, fine leg. And Stone, short crop of blonde hair in, defending again. Is Young thought about a single, perhaps by a drop and run into the offside, but Pope scampers forward to pick up, and there is no run. Stone walking back to his mark, a bit of an air of determination. From the man on his home ground as well, Ollie Stone. Yeah,
so he'll know how to, bowl at these ends. He'll feel completely comfortable with his run up and his rhythm. It is handy, but he's steaming in. He looks a good line bowler. Looks just like he holds that good line on off stump.
He's in now. Bowls and has Young forward again to the onside, no run. Yeah, he runs up with his right arm very straight by his side, doesn't he? His left elbow is very slightly bent, but the right arm is not quite straight, but almost, before he then winds up. Andy.
Joe Root's catching recently for England's been absolutely outstanding. That was a rare drop since the start of the 2017 summer. He's caught 66 out of 77 chances.
Stone racing again past the umpire, full to Young once again. Forward he comes, defends, and Stone picks up in his follow-through.
And that's in 47 tests, taking 55 catches in his last 33 tests. And his catch success percentage in that time, 66 out of 77, that's 85% successful catches. There are 24 fielders on the CricViz fielding database who've had at least 25 chances in that time, and his success percentage is the highest. So he has been one of the finest catchers in Test cricket in recent years.
A rare blip. Stone in now outside the off stump, it shapes away from Young.
Yeah, I can't remember him dropping one. I can't remember. Yeah, very good catcher in the slips, Joe.
So that 85% success rate, when do we know when the last time was that you did drop one?
I'll dig around.
All right. We'll probably find it was actually only in the winter and we've completely forgotten.
No, I just
in
always...
the blur of Test cricket.
I always remember him clinging on to one, but as you say, everyone drops them. No one means to drop them. That's what I always used to say. Sorry. Didn't mean it.
No, not been the best test personally yet for Root, has it? Stone is in and he has Young coming forward once more defensively. Drops it into the offside, no run.
I should say that is for non-wicket keepers. So players without the advantage of the big gloves.
Yeah. 52 for 1, another maiden. New Zealand 251 runs behind. Yeah, Root out for just 4 with the bat. And he got a good couple of starts, didn't he? Scores of 40 at the Lord's Test match. But he, as always, wants to he saw those as starts, wants to actually be converting those to 50s and on. But yeah, disappointing for the captain of the side. Sets a tone as well, don't you, as leader?
Yes, he usually fields second slip, doesn't he? It's not usually first slip. He usually fields second slip, Joe. So there might be just a slight different trajectory or angle.
You over for Anderson. Still the 3 slips in place. He's in now, and a shouldering of arms from Conway through to Bracey behind the stumps. The sun is sort of trying to come in and out a little bit today at Edgbaston. The last over it made a full appearance, but ever so briefly, and now the duvet of cloud cover has just closed over again. It's just tucked itself in.
Who is in that cordon, Alison? You've got Root at first.
It's Sibley and Crawley, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've got Burns here at points. Backward. Not a fine leg gully, not quite backward point, not as deep as that as well here for Anderson. Into the left-hander, Conway forward once again. He'll take a run here to the just wide of Broad at mid-off. And it's a cut-off. And they've been able to add 2. 54 for 1, brings the deficit down to beneath 250, 249.
Well, no, Joe Root's recent catching, looking at the CricViz data, he dropped one in Sri Lanka in January, but before that he'd taken 30 of his previous 31 chances. That's going back to the last test at the Oval in 2019.
Yeah, that's sensational.
Broad in outside the off stump, and Conway was playing at it maybe just a little bit late, and half a lead just withdrew the hands. It meant that the ball angled into the ground out towards Burns at point. Maybe just caught in 2 minds on that occasion. Conway's 37, not out. Feeling the crowd still milling around a little bit. A few people still taking their seats after the lunch break. There's a bouncer. We've got our first inflatable beach ball making an appearance.
I saw one yesterday. Yeah, there was one yesterday. It didn't last long, though. It didn't last long. I think someone sat on it.
I think someone's just tried to grab hold of it and hide it under a bucket seat to prevent it being confiscated. Around the wicket, and that's off the inside edge of the bat. We have stopped there at the leg gully. And that's Pope. Moving to his right-hand side. Another dot ball, but Anderson probing and trying to see how way past this partnership. 15 runs on the board when Latham was dismissed. Great fun in the morning session when Mark Wood was throwing the bat around and scoring some quick runs.
Wasn't it just? It was great.
Yep, first half hour of the day, he added very quick 25 off 22 to his overnight score and was out for 41. Dan Lawrence, 81 not out at the end. Anderson was the last man dismissed, and he's in now, Anderson, and coming up on the defensive blade. Again, not really quite getting forward to it, maybe caught in 2 minds at the crease, sending it into the ground on the onside.
Yes, his one slight weakness that I've picked up is that he does occasionally get inside edges. He very rarely gets outside edges, as we've seen. He hasn't troubled the slip cordon at all, but then sometimes just pushing forward, he just sometimes hits the sort of inside half edge of the bat, but that usually goes away to square leg and sort of no risk of sort of playing on.
Yeah, so we've got these 2 fielders.
Yeah, that's why I think they're there,
Yeah, short, one in front and one behind square on that leg side. Anderson in driving past Broad at mid-off as he was moving in, and a cover drive which is now racing away down to the boundary in front of the Holly stands. Rather a sumptuous 4 along the ground all the way from Conway to end that over from Anderson. He's on 41. New Zealand are 58 for 1 in reply to England's 303. Tuffers.
Yeah, he's good.
A few more words from you, and then
yes.
Daniel Norcross is coming in. I'm off. I'll see you in a moment.
Well, he's good through there. As I say, it was interesting that they've got a man on a short sort of square leg looking for that inside edge or a big nick onto a pad, and also one just behind square, but that time he's absolutely crunched one through extra cover. He doesn't miss out there. He looks very good, Dan.
Conway.
Afternoon.
He really does, doesn't he? We've seen some wonderful shots. It's the economy with which he hits them. Just a little push. No great flourish.
No.
Stone starts a new over from the city end and gets the hip of Young. The ball goes down very fine, down to long leg, or fine leg if you like, and it is retrieved by Stone, and they get through for a couple of leg byes. 58 for 1. You know, you think about beautiful left-handers driving, you might think about
David Gower or Kumar Sangakkara.
Yes.
It's nothing like that.
No.
But it has a different kind of beauty. It has an economy of beauty.
Well,
It's like people who like toy dogs. Do you know what I mean? You can have little dogs that can be very beautiful too, as well as bigger dogs. It's sort of like a Stones in, down the leg side, taken by Bracey, strangled the peel. There's no run. I don't know what I mean by that precisely.
No, explain yourself.
I mean, it's like it's not a broad brush stroke.
No, which has a bowler.
Like a sort of golden retriever of a drive.
Yes.
It's like a sort of...
Or a Newfoundland,
Or a
perhaps.
Newfoundland, yeah. It's more like a sort of...
Staff.
A little one.
It's a
yeah,
chunky staff.
Chunky and very sort of, yes. Compact. Firm. Stone is in. It's pushed at by Young. It comes to the inside half of the bat and goes to that position just in front of square leg. There's no run. 60 for 1.
And even those lovely Gowers and Sangakkaras, as a bowler sometimes you almost feel that gives you a slightly more sort of a wafty grace and elegance, which you can nick it.
But not with Conway.
Not with the chunky staff. He's not nicking. Don't look like he's nicking it.
No. Everything's played just there, isn't it? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
Yes, for England, there will be some rueful thoughts out there which I'll need to get rid of. The Stone is in with 3 slips, and Young has a bouncer which he pulls at.
That was quick.
And misses. So if we look at the 2 batters that are out there, both of them could have been out. Yeah. Conway might well have been out if the soft signal before lunch had been out.
Ali had the rule book out.
Yes, I bet she did. Yeah, and it's translated into multiple languages, I should imagine, as well. Yes, it was one of those ones where it was out if it had been given out, and it was not out if it had not been given out.
I know.
You know what it was? It was like Schrodinger's catch. It was basically out and not out simultaneously. It was both in and out of the box. It was alive and dead. It was.
What have you had for lunch? Did you have the same lunch as I had?
Yeah.
What's happened here?
Now, what has happened here? Is there a
wardrobe malfunction?
Could be a wardrobe malfunction. We're waiting. Various players have gone. Is it the thigh pad? Because in the previous overs,
I'm not quite sure.
Stone hit the thigh of Young.
Oh, it's boots. Is it a boots?
Well, they're bringing an awful lot of kit here. It is a boot. It is. How do you need a new boot when you're batting? Has his boot actually just collapsed?
Split
it's Will Young who requires this new boot, and he's doing up his laces now. As a result, we've got this break in play, and the moment Hasib Hamid sees an opportunity, he comes charging on, tabarded with loads of drinks, comes out to Root, and Root says, no, we don't need a drink. Honestly, it's only been 25 minutes since lunch.
Need some shoes.
That's right. Now there are a bunch of tabarded Kiwis away to the city end. This is going to take some time.
That's more of a bib than a tabard, isn't it?
I suppose so. A bib. I suppose a bib.
Tabard's perhaps mid-thigh length.
I don't know. If you're a purveyor of tabards or bibs, do get in touch. TMS at bbc.co.uk or at BBC TMS. The crowd don't mind, they can just sing. And the bebibbed Kiwis are now making their way off the ground. And we might finally have an outbreak of cricket again.
Yeah.
Yes, Young's ready. 3 slips in, Stone in. Charging in, wide of the off stump. Ghastly delivery. Young not remotely interested, through to the keeper, no run.
He's looked solid as well.
He has, hasn't he? But they're all fashioned. They're all hewn out of granite. This Kiwi side, aren't they? They're all of them hard as nails.
Yeah.
All fashioned in the image of
or
Kane
lava,
Williamson.
perhaps,
Or
being
lava.
Kiwis.
Or lava. Yes.
Yes. Set lava, obviously.
Set, yes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, there's they move a little bit, but Stone in, full, defended off the front foot, back to the bowler by Young, and that is the end. Is that technically a maiden over?
It is technically actually a maiden over.
Yes.
Young has just scored 1 in 21 balls since lunch.
And he's been dropped. So I was referring earlier to Conway's Schrodinger's catch moment, but we've also had Joe Root's simple drop.
Well, we've just been saying it's the first one he's dropped in 30.
Did it perhaps, because we talked about how for the wicket keepers it sometimes swung a bit.
No, heels
just
of the
got
hand.
it wrong.
Yeah. And I made the point that he's usually at second, isn't he, Joe? And he's found himself at first. Doesn't usually field at first slip, does he? He's usually at second, from what I can remember.
That could be it.
Yeah.
It was a nice height. It was shin height, wasn't it? He didn't have to go down far. Anderson starts a new over to Conway, who defends with inside edge, nearly comes back onto the stumps. Gets away with that. That was close. 60 for 1, the score remains. If you missed any of the action, you can watch video clips via the BBC Sport website and app, of course, and today at the Test, it's on at 7 p.m. on BBC Two every day. All the best moments in the Test match, packaged up at 7 o'clock. Now, we've got this leg gully, we've got this forward square leg, mid-on, extra cover really, at a cover point. Anderson in, Conway defends on the front foot, pushes to the sun-hatted broad as the cloud cover comes over more. The wind, I think, is quite relevant. It feels a little bit cooler to me. It doesn't feel like these are the conditions that are quite like yesterday. They superficially look like yesterday, but actually you can tell from being in the box. Yesterday we were really muggy in here, weren't we?
Yeah.
It's quite enervating by the end of the day.
Yes,
it almost felt like a proper job. And Anderson is in with 3 slips. Conway lets this go by through to the keeper. There's no run today, not so much.
No, and quite a firm breeze as well. Even more, a bit gusty as well, and a bit blustery.
Annoying.
Yes, it is. And I didn't used to like bowling when it was blustery. Just puts you off your rhythm a bit. And it was perfect swing bowling yesterday when it was there. Was that nice, steady sort of warmish breeze just coming across, and as you say, muggy.
With the exception of horizontal sleet, I think wind is my least favourite meteorological condition.
Yeah.
As Anderson is into Conway, who plays this beautifully with an angled bat down to the deep third boundary. It's being pursued by Sibley and Crawley, but they won't be able to haul it back in. That was quite a deliberate shot. And again, it's this economy of Conway. He really makes you think, looking at him.
Yeah. Doink.
I just think you would despair as a bowler.
Yeah. Because you want to see that bat coming out. You want to see that flick. You want to see that little sort of misjudgment and perhaps a late leave even. But he's just boink.
I mean, that one
Boink.
was literally just the very last minute. He pushed at the ball about an inch away from his body, but timed it perfectly.
And then you go searching outside the off stump, and he crunches you through extra cover.
64 for 1. Conway stands taller to a shorter ball. Anderson doesn't like going for runs, so he's gone back of a length. Said, what are you going to do with that? And Conway just pushes it to the offside. 64 for 1, the score remains.
Canary Island's no good for you then.
Canary Island?
Yeah. Wind.
Oh, yeah. Don't like it. Don't like it. No, don't like it. I don't mind a gentle zephyr or a mistral or a wafty breeze that's floating through my linen trousers, but I do not like wind. Anderson in, defended from the crease up to Broad at mid-off. End of the over. 64 for 1. Young has 7. Conway just continues to impress. He has 45 from 77. 22 overs have been bowled. What's your least favourite meteorological condition?
I'm with you. Wind.
Yeah.
Niggling at you. Your eyes are all screwed up and streaming. And
do you remember the Old Trafford Test match of 2019 against Australia, England-Australia?
Yes.
It was one of the most horrific days. Yeah. Poor old Jofra Archer was running into this howling 70 miles an hour that the wind got up to at some point.
Horrible. Yes, that's right.
The game stopped for 5 minutes as debris and residue was blowing across the field. Stone starts a new over to Young. It's on the pads, worked away into the onside, just going to beat that fielder at forward square leg or a square mid-wicket, however you want to describe it, and he gets a single. Does Young to get off strike, moves to 8, 65 for 1. Sorry, Andy looked like he was doing something with the microphone, but it might just be pens. Just pens. Sorry. You looked genuinely alarmed when I looked at you then.
You must be used to that face now.
Yes, I have. Yeah, that face follows me around on other people's faces all day, every day, and has done for years. Now, a slight change of field with Conway on. Conway's taking an off-stump guard, I'm pretty sure, because we're sitting right behind him. That's what it looks like. He scratches his mark. 3 slips, a backward point, a huge gap between Rory Burns' backward point and Anderson at mid-off.
And there's definitely a ploy.
There's a ploy.
With those two fellas there catching.
Stone round the wicket with 3 men on the leg side, 2 catching, 1 behind square. That's on the hip. And Conway exactly starts to play that shot that might have brought Ollie Pope into play. Ollie Pope is at it's sort of like a genuine leg gully. I think we might describe a leg gully as really where leg slip is. But
I'm going to say a catching just behind square leg.
A catching just behind square leg is exactly what it is.
Because gully
bit of a mouthful, but yeah.
Is there an acronym for that?
Yeah. CJBSL.
No.
Right. Stone in, full, driven back up past Stone's left hand, outstretched left hand, and he'll get a run for it as Broad has to move to his right to field. 66 for 1. Stone from the City end. He's now got Will Young back on strike. So I don't quite know why they have got this particular ploy. They must have seen something in Conway. I mean, I kind of think that if you bowl the ball into the hip of someone and you have those fielders there, then it might happen for you, it might not. I don't know. We'll see. Stone is in to Young, who drives gloriously for 4. An on-drive, full ball, yes, from Stone, delivered at some pace, but he managed to get that to the left of mid-on, where Jimmy Anderson is. Anderson just has to go and trot after the ball. It's a lovely, lovely shot. We've seen some great on-drives, actually, in this match. Seen some lovely driving from Dan Lawrence, from Rory Burns, and definitely from Devon Conway. But that was a wonderful shot from Young. His second boundary. He had one before lunch, which he flicked through square leg. This was an altogether more sumptuous, delicious shot. I'm salivating over it almost as much as I did over the splendid lunch, which was good. 3 slips in, Stone in to Young. Young lets this go. Leaves it on length, really. It was short. It went way above the stumps and into the keeper's gloves. Alistair Cook is back. Hello, Alistair. You right? No, you're inaudible at the moment. You might come on at some point. We'll see.
Is that better?
Oh, that is. Well, insofar as I can hear you, it is better.
Thank you, Dan.
70 for 1. Young has 12, Conway 46. We would look, just talking about Conway. We'll discuss him at the end of the over, which is coming up as Stone is in to the right-handed Young. Edge down towards the deep third boundary. He's going to run away to that boundary for 4. Played with soft hands. It was a false-ish shot, but he played it in such a way as to not put himself in any real danger. He picks up 4. His second boundary of the over. He has 16, 74 for 1. Conway, I want to talk to you about. You still are a left-handed opener.
Yeah.
Now, Conway, I've not seen someone, especially so early in their Test career, drive balls where he's not really driving them. He's playing a front foot push, and the ball whistles away for 4.
So balanced, isn't it? So balanced at the crease. I mean, his setup is very Mark Stoneman-like, actually. That's what I've been looking at, thinking, who's he remind me of in terms of how he plays that? The cover drive, he plays is very Mark Stoneman-like. I mean, he is in the form of his life, isn't he? And when you are in this form, you've got to cash in. But it's so simple, isn't it? You know, you've got one of the greatest ever bowlers bowling around the wicket.
Here he is, Anderson, starting a new over, and Conway defends a full ball on leg stump up to mid-on. There's no run.
It's a good ball. It's asking the question: could it nip? Could it, towards a slip or carry on straight on? He's just played it as if it's done nothing. I'm sure it hasn't done nothing, and he is making batting look very, very easy at the moment.
Every ball's coming out the middle of his bat, it feels. You've had the one edge, which was the controversial catch or not catch.
He plays the ball very late, very Kane Williamson-like on that off stump. A couple of times he almost plays it too late. He kind of could hit the stumps a bit like Williamson got out of Lords. But this is
also odd. A deep forward square leg has gone out for Anderson of all people. He's into Conway. Conway plays again with soft hands and guides the ball into the gap between where Gully would be if he was there and third slip, who is there, down towards the deep backward point boundary, if you like. Gets another couple of runs, moves to 48.
Yeah, sorry, Salts. There's a couple of areas at him. We had a look on the old TV where inside edge of his bat, if you can picture his front pad, that line up there, he's a bit uncertain when the ball's tight to him. But at the moment, because he's not falling over at all, he's managed to get away out of trouble. That's why the leg gullying is. I don't know if there's catching at leg gully. Watch this go straight to him now.
Standing on off stump, as that ball's outside off stump, and he's able to let it go because he knows exactly where his off stump is. There's no run.
I was just going to say the 50 partnership came up in the previous over. The single off the first ball took 16 and a half overs.
Holly's standing full voice, and it's getting dark, I've got to say. The floodlights are on, the clouds are sinking a little lower. Bad light could be an issue. We had this yesterday. Whether it'll make for better conditions for England's bowlers. The flags are still fluttering. It's still pretty windy out there.
I'm just amazed England haven't got the ball swinging.
They haven't, have they yet? Anderson in to Conway, and Conway defends a straight ball on off stump up to Broad, who just wanders in, picks up. There's no run.
You know, obviously Trent Bolt and Matt Henry are swingers, aren't they? In terms of that is their main mode of dismissal. They pitch the ball out. They're probably a little bit skiddier than you'd say James Anderson, Stuart Broad, but you know, I think Anderson's got more to his. You know, we know him more to the armoury than just swing bowling, but so if it was swinging, he would swing it today. Yeah. But it's exactly the same conditions. The floodlights are on, so because it's not
colder, a bit windier,
maybe a bit windier. But to be fair, we had Nathan Lehman on at lunch talking about swing.
Anderson's in. Conway shorter ball is negotiated into the onside, and Anderson, who's I think getting a little bit cheesed off with the fact this ball isn't doing what he wants it to do, hurtles after the ball and then sort of pretends to throw at the stumps. I think he's sort of wondering, I've been playing Test cricket for 18 years, never come across this guy. Who is he? He turns up on my watch, scores a double 100. It's bang out of order, I tell you.
And also with, you know, because it's not swinging, therefore England have to drag their lengths back a little bit, don't they? So it's not bowl quite as full as New Zealand, but I wonder if that because the ball hasn't swung, you can't bowl full.
Anderson in, Conway defends on the front foot, up to Broad. The noises you can hear are a very excited crowd as an inflatable watermelon is passed from person to person. Thoughts on whatever he wants, either the watermelon or swing bowling from Alistair Cook, and then it will be Isha Guha to replace me.
I was actually going to talk about the size of the watermelon. It was as big a watermelon as I've seen, floating around the crowd. And it gives a great cheer as it went from tier to tier. And so I don't know whether you'd rather be talked about swing bowling or watermelons, but
Devon Conway looks like he's seeing it like a watermelon at the moment as Ollie Stone will continue from the Birmingham end. Lights are on here, cloud cover above, a blanket of grey cloud as Stone approaches the crease. Too young, forward lunging and leaving the ball through to the keeper. I haven't seen him play too many shots actually, Will Young. He's defended a lot, he's left a lot, and that drop chance of Joe Root, and the score was on 52 for 1. He was on 7 at the time. Ollie Stone would have been delighted in front of this crowd to pick up his first wicket of the innings and his home ground as he sets off once more. Coming towards us, Young defends back down the pitch to the bowler.
He's been very watchful, hasn't he, at the start of his innings. Young, 50 balls he's faced. He hasn't looked to put the pressure back on the bowler at all, but he's doing a fantastic job for his team here. You know, England came out after lunch yesterday and in a position of strength very similar to this one, and lost their 3 wickets. These guys have kind of ridden the storm.
Stone hurdling in, bowls. That's cut away through point as it heads out to the boundary and goes into the advertising sponge in front of the Holly stand. So he picks up a 4 there, Young. 20 to him now, 80 for 1 New Zealand.
Yeah, the first bird ball Stone's bowled, I reckon that is, in his spell. Short and wide, and just good enough just to execute the nice cut shot. Treats.
8 from his first 45 balls, and now 3 4s in the next 6 balls.
There was a nice juicy wide one for Young as he crouches and drives, this time through mid-wicket. Runs are flowing now for Will Young. Slightly fuller delivery on the stumps, just trying something different now. Ollie Stone, as they pick up the single, throw gets sent in by James Anderson. 81 for 1, Young to 21, and it's making him do something different. Yeah, just talking about the swing, we were chatting on the highlights, weren't we, about the wind.
it feels a lot gustier than it was yesterday, for sure. And sometimes when it's swirling around, it can have an impact on the swing of the ball. So Stone with 3 slips in position. He's got a man at leg gully for Conway, but also in a sort of catching position in front of square as he comes round the wicket. Bowls a good length delivery on the stumps, which Conway covers. He looks to set off as if to try and steal a single, but Anderson was too quick to the ball at Wider-Schmidt off.
Yeah, England have had this leg gully in to Conway all the time. I don't actually remember the ball going there very many times. Like,
No.
I know they've obviously decided that area we're talking about, that straight ball to him, just inside, just in his eye line, straight is an area for him to attack, but I can't see the leg gully going to him.
Conway nearly again onto the stumps as he plays it down late. He almost just jabs at the ball of Ollie Stone, back of a length again, aiming at just outside off stump, and that is the end of the over. It hits his toes and falls in front of Stone. 81 for 1. Young to 21, Conway on 48.
Is it a bit of an early call for Joe Root to Conway with that rough? Certainly looking from here, from this end, the pavilion end, the end which James Anderson's bowling from. That it looks a bit of rough for him there. He could throw it into there to upset the rhythm.
And looking at his first class statistics, I'm not sure you can say he's got a weakness, but he's been slightly less successful against off-spin bowling, been dismissed 18 times in his first class career.
Here comes Anderson again over the wicket to Young, who's fending in a ball down to gully, no run.
He averages 38 against off-spin, 50 against right-arm pace, 42 against left-arm pace, 52 against left-arm orthodox spin. So not quite a weakness, but maybe a hint that he could be more vulnerable to right-arm off-spin.
We haven't seen the short ball barrage to him yet this innings.
I wonder if that's going to be Mark Wood's. You'd say though the rough is better for this end to bowl to him at, but I think Mark Wood would probably come this end.
As Anderson is through again full as Young defends the ball, leaning forwards as he plays it to mid-wicket, no run. We were debating, weren't we, who Will Young looks like, and I suggested Shane Watson because of the way he's so still in his crease. He's got a gentle knee bend, and when he covers the ball it's with an angled bat. But
I was saying he definitely in his setup he looks a little bit Shane Watson like. I think you've been swayed by the same maker's name of bat.
As Young swerves out of the way of that one, just a rising delivery outside of off stump.
We played this game at Essex, and he scored a few runs against us. Who did he remind us of? And we came up with a name, but
I can't remember
it. I mean, I don't know why I've told everyone now. I can't remember it.
Well, maybe the listeners can tell us. Drop a note on social media. You can check out his stance and the way he plays on our in-play clips on the website. Of course, you can watch the highlights tonight as well. 7 p.m. BBC 2 as Anderson is past the umpire, this time shaping into the right-hander as he defends back down the track with the front foot.
I'm half hoping one of the Essex lads, Simon Harm or Adam Wheater, who are in the slip cordon with me, will be listening. But I'd imagine if they were listening...
Do they listen to... like listen to Test Match Special?
Well, Nick Brown definitely does. He texted me yesterday saying, your banter's rubbish, please.
You need to pick it up.
So I need to improve it for Nick Brown, my opening partner.
As Anderson comes wider of the crease, and a bit of shape again into Young as he works it to Stuart Broad at mid-on. That's encouraging, slightly fuller and a bit of movement in the air for Anderson.
Yeah, but it's definitely not swinging as much as it was for New Zealand. Is it just one of these Duke's balls which doesn't swing? If England picked a dud, the opening, I think it is still Jimmy who goes into the umpire's room, picks the balls from the box of balls. Is it as simple as that?
They carefully choose their balls as Anderson bowls back of a length to Young, who's covering an outside off stump and pushes it out to extra cover. Almost dribbles to Dan Lawrence as he picks it up. End of the over then. 81 for 1. Young 21, Conway 48. It's all about how it feels in the hand, isn't it? And the colour of it sometimes.
Yeah, the darker cherries. Yeah, I was a big fan of choosing a darker ball. I don't know why that makes any difference. Jamie Porter Essex likes the bigger seam balls. He's not so bothered about the colour of the ball. I definitely think a darker, smaller one is what I would go for if I was steaming in with it. But and here we go.
And this is why you were England's former captain, Alistair, as Joe Root has brought himself on from the Birmingham end to replace Ollie Stone. He will be bowling to the left-handed Devon Conway, who's on 48. A resounding Root going out around the ground. As his field is a slip, backward point, deep cover, who's very square, extra, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, and deep backward square as well. We'll have a short leg in position. Ollie Pope will be under the lid. Dom Sibley just marking out 3/4 of the way back at backward square. It's almost a long leg. As Root will be bowling round the wicket to New Zealand's opener. Conway steps forwards, pushes it to extra cover.
Good bowlers are left-handers, Joe Root. Good bowlers. There's a good move, I believe. There isn't as much rough, though, for him to throw the ball into.
He bowls again, Conway on the back foot, working it to mid-wicket, no run.
He's a good bowler. He's very accurate, quick. So, yeah, if he just skids on, I think there's not going to be a huge amount of turn. I think he's going to try and get Conway LBW. And just sliding on. If it starts ragging, will England miss not picking Jack Leach?
Root bowls fuller, Conway drives past extra cover out to the deep cover boundary. It's a chase on for Stuart Broad to his left. Manages to keep the wide-brimmed hat on as he dives and rolls and sends the ball in. Devon Conway will pick up 2 in the meantime, and a 50 here at Edgbaston as he raises his bat now to the dressing room. 83 for 1 then, New Zealand backing up after a sensational knock at Lord's.
Easy game, this Test cricket, isn't it? Jeez, he's making it look very easy. And England will be rode. He's obviously got a knack for going on to big scores. I think he's got a 100 in first-class cricket as well.
This is on the back foot, working it to wideish mid-wicket. Zach Crawley dives and throws back to Root. No run.
He's averaging 136 at the moment. Do you just walk off now, retire yourself and go, I've done this? It's only going to go one way, my average. It's only going one way.
I get the feeling he's a man that wants to play as many games as you, Alistair, is. Conway on the back foot this time, punching to mid-on, no run.
How old is he?
He's 29. I don't think he's going to.
No, I'm not worried about that. I'm just curious.
Yeah, 29. There's Root bowls, round arm, works it past, short leg, Pope in pursuit as they come through for 1. Conway signalling to the dressing room at the end of the over. It's 84 for 1. Conway to 51 and Young on 21.
Conway's half century came from 85 balls with 8 fours. And I make it, and I hope this is correct, that he's only the 4th player in Test history to have a double century and another 50-plus score in his first 3 innings in men's Test cricket.
Can I have a guess? Can I have a guess at the other one?
Go on then.
Jack Rudolph?
Correct.
Oh,
I know one of them. That's how many others?
2 more. One of whom did it in 2 innings in his debut Test.
His debut Test? Recently?
1972. Does that count as recent or not?
No, not for me. I'm sorry. You're going to have to tell me that one.
That was Lawrence Rowe of West Indies, made 214 and a century in the second innings of his debut match against New Zealand.
And the third one's going to be back right in the day.
No, 1993.
Ooh. Team?
India.
93 team. I don't know that one.
93.
Just checking Tuffers isn't in the room. Might get flashbacks. Vinod Kambli, Indian left-hander.
No.
What a talent he was. Here comes Mark Wood then. Change of bowling from the pavilion end to replace James Anderson. 2 men back set in the deep on the leg side. Mid-wicket, mid-on, mid-off, extra and backward point and 2 slips as he comes round the wicket to Conway. Back of a length as Conway gets deep into his crease and guides it out to deep cover. Pass point to his left. Murray Burns slides and throws the ball in after picking up 2. Conway moves to 53, 86 for 1.
Yeah, just a little bit of... He keeps stretching his hamstring, old Conway, whether he's just tweaked it. A little bit of cramp maybe, but a glimmer of hope maybe for England. But he's played that even just there. It was just gently lent on the ball, back of a length. Played it so late, just pushes it away for a comfortable 2 in so much control. This is just fantastic batting.
Wood circles and then has to retreat, and here he comes again. As he winds up, Conway defending to the offside. There is a gap there at point. He's just asked Rory Burns to shift further backward of point, almost like a wideish gully set back. No run is taken in that position as Burns moves further back. He's wearing blue sunglasses on his cap, the ponytail protruding out the back of his cap as well.
You a fan of the ponytail look?
Don't mind it. Different.
Lockdown-ish, isn't it?
As Wood pushes away past the umpire, bowls Conway again, playing it late, right underneath his head as he dabs at it, and James Bracey runs towards it as it trickles backwards past the stumps. No run. You can see our hotel, Cookie, in the distance. See that tall building with the green windows, the green facade.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you see your penthouse at the top. Top floors, all doers.
That's I'm pretty sure that's Michael Vaughan's, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I don't have old Mounties put the picture on I sent him this morning.
As Conway, he looks to pull, but doesn't get anything on it as James Bracey leaps up into the air to take the ball. It's a short one from Mark Wood, and what we expected, maybe a short ball barrage to Devon Conway.
Yeah, it looked like he nicked it from here, didn't it? It looked like it moved, but he must have just got seam up as it went past the batsman, and Bracey diving to take it. That carried. So I left this morning having a bit of breakfast, and Isha had to do the old BBC start at 9 o'clock, so she's in earlier.
As Wood steams in, nearly catches the outside edge as Conway looks to cut through point. Back of a length delivery this time, not a short one.
And this massive mini bus stroke stretch limo with premium travel. It could have fitted 30 people in it arrived. I thought that's a bit strange, and then I saw Isha just walking in on her own. She's had the whole...
I can't believe you happened to be walking past at the time I was getting into that minibus, because I was truly embarrassed. I walked in and I said, is there anyone else joining me?
It was unbelievable. It had 30 seats for her. I saw a recline there.
As Conway leaves this one outside the off stump.
So I managed to run and grab a photo for photo evidence. I wonder if Mountie might put it on the website for us, just to show the style and the luxury that Isha travels in. Only afforded to her. The rest of us had to walk in.
You're more than happy. I'm more than happy for you to join me at 7:30 in the morning, Cookie.
That's okay. You can have that.
End of the over. Dear. 86 for 1.
Sorry.
I was very embarrassed, I have to say. 21 to Will Young and Devon Conway on 53.
Yeah, you did say, didn't you? You did say, this can't be for me. I did hear that. You were very sheepish, but I feel as if you might have ordered it deliberately.
Lights still on here at Edgbaston, and still plenty of cloud cover, although we can see the high-rise buildings in the distance there, as Joe Root will continue from the Birmingham City end as he comes through now to Will Young, facing his first delivery of off-spin. Slip in position, short leg, man out at long leg. Stuart Broad's been asked to come off the deep mid-wicket boundary into the circle, just probably about 30 metres away as Root comes through again. Edge! Falls short of Burns. Well, I wondered whether he actually juggled it, but I think it's fallen short of Burns to his right. In fact, there was a little bit of turn there. It hits the pad, and it pops up, drops in front of Burns as Young is on the back foot this time, pushing at the ball. No run.
just a hint of turn, and it just grabbed the inside edge. Paddy didn't carry anywhere near to Burns, but a little bit of turn there for Joe Root off the good stuff, off the flat surface. No rough this end for him to bowl into.
This time smothering the ball with that long lunge, very Shane Watson-esque from Will Young.
You're going to keep going.
I am, yeah.
I mean, actually, I'm sorry, there is a little bit. Trent bowled quite a lot this end, so it would have disturbed the surface, but he's very light on his feet.
As Young is back and deep into his crease this time to defend it to mid-wicket, no run.
So he hasn't got huge footmarks there, but as you said, Shane Watson light, just off his back foot. Come on, I'm waiting for my phone to go. I'm waiting for the answer.
Towel poking out the back of Joe Root's trousers as he comes through now, again on the back foot for Young at the end of the over, working it to mid-wicket. And Dan Lawrence takes the ball and gives it a good shine. I hear he's the chief shiner these days. He's
not doing a very good job, is he? Because it ain't swinging today. Sorry, Dan. On that note, I've got to go. Vaughan's skipping in.
Michael Vaughan's going to come in. I can see a big red mark on the side of his trousers. So he is doing some work out there as Drinks will come onto the field. 86 for 1, Young on 21 and Conway on 53. What do they trail by, Andy?
217 runs behind.
Yeah.
Something the TV coverage picked up on is Mark Wood's speeds so far being a little down on what he achieved at Lords, and he bowled with incredible pace, some of the fastest bowling in the CricViz database, but he's down about 2 miles an hour on average so far in this test. Now sometimes we see a bit of variation between the speed guns, but Anderson and Broad both slightly up on Lords. Neil Wagner played in both games about the same, so it does suggest that maybe Wood is not quite hitting that velocity that he managed in the first test.
You can see him now just taking on some drink, players gathering together. You just think back to that chance, Devon Conway, and the score was 32 for 1, and he was on 22. He's now made his way to 53. Michael Vaughan has come in place of Alistair Cook. A few words from you, Vaughanie, and then Aggers will come in for me.
Yeah, it was a big moment in the game, you feel. Everyone has their opinion. I thought it was out. I thought his fingers were under the ball. I thought the ball bounced up from his fingers of his right hand into his left hand. And I fully understood why Stuart Broad was an angry chappie. He may have to speak to his father later on in the match referee room. We'll have to wait and see, because I'm afraid once the decision is made, you can't show that kind of emotion. But he's going to have to get over it, and he's kind of making it count. Devon Conway, again, he just looks a solid player. He just looks like he knows his game inside out. He's got his scoring options in his head. He's got great balance on front and back foot. It looks set, Aggers. I'm going to hoping for another opportunity or a mistake.
I suppose it's a question of whether the umpires out in the middle feel that he was disputing the umpire's decision, wasn't it? In Broad's case, that's what that'll be about. But
he was quite irate with Richard Kettleborough and Richard Illingworth.
He was.
He wasn't happy with the soft signal, was he?
No.
Which was not out.
So Wood bowling downwind. Struggled up into it, and I thought Stone also, none of them have bowled over 90 miles an hour yet. They're bowling into that strong breeze, which is favouring Wood now from this end. Lights are on, a little bit gloomy. And he's bowling to Conway, and he goes now and bowls on the leg stump. Flicked away nicely by Conway into the leg side. Chase for Crawley back from mid-wicket. He's got a sweater on. There's a few now with jumpers on out there. In fact, Root had a long sleever on earlier. That wind blows across the ground, but there's no question of jumpers and so on in the Hollies stand. They're warmed up in there. 88 for 1. Good battling start by New Zealand. It hasn't been easy. 215 behind. Young, of course, gave that chance on 7. Wood bowls, and Conway allows that to go speeding through outside his off stump.
Yeah, that seemed to fizz through nicely for Mark Wood. James Bracey taking it waist high. It's quite a long way back is James Bracey. Played nicely with the bat, Woody, didn't he?
Well, it was great fun.
Fine form.
It really was. Yep, he'll be revelling in that. He'll be watching the highlights tonight.
Yeah, he'll have that on a disc.
It was great fun. He did play some excellent shots. I do recommend people who weren't watching or listening at the time, tune in later, 7 o'clock. In goes Wood, kicking up his heels, a springy run. He bowls on the off stump. Conway stands up and very calmly, for all that effort from Wood, hurling himself into that delivery, Conway just stands there and goes, dink.
Yeah, it must be quite demoralising as a quick when a player looks like he's played. I'm sure I didn't see the pace of that, but around 90 miles an hour, just like all the time in the world.
Yep.
Get past that.
Block it back. I'm intrigued by Wood's run-up because you see all the marks, all the paint, and there's a white disc there, of course, that people use a bowling marker to show where you start your run from, but Wood hasn't got that. He starts off from a random place. And he goes now, bowls outside the off stump, a fuller length. Conway's not interested, collected by Bracey. He turns on the run as well, but I don't know how there's no indication down there of where he's supposed to start from, which is very interesting. He doesn't know ball very often.
Yeah, I'm just looking down towards the groundsman's hut, and Ashley Giles, director of English Cricket, is down there talking to the groundsman. There's a watermelon, an inflatable being passed around the stand. I think they're trying to get it all the way around, Aggers.
It's going into the wind now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be... well, look at that one. That's gone quite far.
Wood again runs in, bowls. Oh, it almost gets through. And that's that area. There's no doubt, but Conway does have a bit of an issue around about that length and that line. I'd be interested to put a short leg in there because it often gets beaten on that inside edge. It even was at Lord's where the bounce was quite erratic. I think it was more difficult there.
And that's, to me, where you target Conway.
Yeah, me too.
Angling into leg stump, put a short leg in, you have a fielder catching as well, probably just behind square, 10 yards back. And you just got to be so consistent and relentless, just aiming it there, ball after ball.
I think so, but it does need a short leg. Wood again runs in, bowls to him, that's more off stump. And played to Pope at cover. And there's no run. So the end of the over, 88 for 1. Young has 21. Conway 55. Still a lot of cricket today. 47 overs left, not even halfway through yet.
That's watermelon, Aggers. Just see it to the left.
Yeah,
it's coming round. They're trying to get it round. It's against the wind. They're trying to take it. They take it the other way.
It's a good job not at the Gabba because a steward would have had it by now and punctured it. It's always rather a torturous process there, almost like they're doing it in slow motion, isn't it? They're rather sadistic, those stewards.
What, the Gabba?
Yeah. His route over the wicket and bowls. And Young plays him carefully to Pope at short leg with the helmet on. Burns as it slip. And the man on the drive, or the flick really, at short mid-wicket. Root again, moves in, bowls. I like that line, just outside off stump and more likely to hit the rough.
Yeah, well, with this field, cover point on the boundary, he's not over-attacking a short leg. Slip in place, that is the line. Just bowl to the keeper's right glove, that's the line for an off-spinner over the wicket to a right-hander.
Root again, bowls, a little shorter, so Young goes on the back foot. And there's no run. Root again. Bowls straighter and he just nudged that around the corner. Wood sprints in, denying New Zealand a possible second. 89 for 1.
It's on the screen, Ashley Giles now. They've picked him out. Silver Fox.
Why is he down there with the groundsman then?
I just don't know. I know his son is in the ground with a group of mates.
Oh, right.
And I know he's sat on that side of the ground in fancy dress. 14 of his mates and his Giles on a bit of a jolly up with his pals. I can't see 14 in fancy dress that side, but I know he's that side of the ground.
Father gone to keep an eye on him, is he?
Well, just to go check on the youngster.
89 for 1, and so the left-handed Conway on strike. Hasn't got much rough outside his off stump to play with. That was a real dart from Root. He really fired that into the leg stump.
Look at this for a field egg. It's an orthodox slip, a leg slip. 3 fielders on the onside, straightish mid wicket, another mid wicket, mid on, mid off, extra cover and a backward point.
Root again, bowls around that leg stump. That's definitely the research or the data that we talked about at lunchtime that has been fed into the system as far as Conway is concerned. Get it into that line of middle and leg stump. Clearly for the spinner as well, they feel that's the line to bowl to him. They haven't got him out yet, though. Although Stuart Broad will think that he had on 22. I don't think anything will dissuade Stuart of that view. Even having to visit his father this evening to apologise.
I had it out, I guess, I have to say. I thought it bounced up off the fingers.
It's interesting that, I mean, people have talked about the soft signal, haven't they? And Virat Kohli particularly wants it scrapped. But, I mean, I remember when it was brought in and why it was brought in is because nobody really, in most circumstances, has a better view of low catches like that. In goes Wood and bowls it swinging in, and Young plays it off the front foot than the 2 umpires. And often the square leg umpire's got a great view of the slips, and out in the deep there you can turn around and see deep square leg running in or something. But there was a period of time where the umpires on the field just would not make a decision. So the soft signal was really to try and get just something out of those on the field with the best view to give an indication of whether the thing is out or not. It's been muddied by the fact, of course, that the television replays are often quite hard to see, zooming in on a very small area.
But it can't be that a square leg umpire can see 40, 50 yards away to boundary catches.
Here's Wood again. He's fallen. He's off his feet there as he bowls himself off his boots, as it were, trying to put so much effort in. Well, I think if he's turning around now and the fielder's running in, that's a better view of a catch in Richard Illingworth's example there that we're looking at than a camera with a long lens. You're trying to blow it up and see.
Well, I personally would just bring in the aspect of an umpire or 2 out in the middle saying, look, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Now, why just be neutral? Say, look, on this, we honestly can't make a decision. We'll let the TV take over.
So you could have the option. You could have soft out, soft not out,
or we just don't know. We haven't seen it well enough.
Yeah. That would make sense. 89 for 1, as long as umpires didn't hide behind it.
Yeah, true.
Wood again bowls, and that's nudged off his pads, and Young will pick up 1.
Well, what was the problem with Will Young's shoe? I saw that he changed his boot.
Yes, he ripped the sole off.
Oh, okay.
Whether he slipped or something, I don't know, but not often you see that mid-innings. 23 from 71 balls. Young, Conway 55, and they're just eating away here, nibbling away at England's first innings score of 303, which seemed at least 50 short, I'd have thought. 90 for 1. So it's down to England's bowlers again. And Wood goes tearing in, bowls short, and Conway pulls him there effortlessly. Out to deep square leg. It's a little swivel. Played the ball right off the tip of his nose.
It's the kind of shot that you just would love to do a masterclass on how to play the pull shot. Just watch this. It's short, it's right on his nose, but he gets his hands high. So getting his hands high can then play the ball into the ground. If you play that shot with your hands low and you go up under the ball, it just goes straight in the air. But he gets his hands nice and high early, and he can just control the ball into the deck. Brilliant batting.
In goes Wood, bowls, and there's another single to Young as Wood strays onto the pad. 1 more down to Stone at fine leg. He bowled well earlier on, I thought, but again, rather handicapped by the wind. And the bowl into it. Lawrence seems to be chief ball shiner at the moment. He goes to mid-wicket. Wood wipes some sweat from his brow into the ball, gives a little polish, and sets off again near the advertisers' logo there, the sponsor, and bowls outside the off stump. No stroke from Conway, and that ends the over. 92 for 1. and that is halfway through the day's play. 45 overs remain. At the moment, New Zealand have got more than just their noses ahead. England needs some wickets.
Yeah, it looks to me like, they really are hoping for a mistake or two. There's not a great deal there. There's no real swing seam. Not a great deal for Joe Root. He's just really trying to hold an end. You just never know on this venue that you can have periods where you just feel it's flat, and then all of a sudden you get one. Someone like Stuart Broad gets on a roll. Could easily get 2-3 quick ones. England have got to continue to believe that will happen. Stewards are moving on the Hollies.
In goes Root, bowls, and Young will get at least one here, nudging it around the corner. Kraft catch it, but it was nowhere near Ollie Pope at short leg. And so Wood, who's hoping for a breather up there on the boundary, has got to run another 20 yards and go back again to his position.
Problem here for England, Eggers, is there is spin. You see that delivery there from Joe Root. He's just going to put his short leg to that leg slip, a bit like the horse is bolted there. But there is a little bit of spin there.
Yep.
And I'm sure with the weekend forecast, it'll get drier and drier, this surface.
Root bowls, and Young trying to work that into the leg side. It trickles away back to Root. Yes, the stewards are. There's a beach ball there as well. I see bouncing around in the Hollies stand.
Oh yeah, right at the back. Only a small one.
Root again, bowls, and that runs down to slip this time. Good over so far from Root.
Where's the melon gone? Melon's gone. It's been taken, I think.
Must be under us, I would have thought by now.
Could be making its way around to the Hollies. Beer snake's going in the top.
You must leave there. If you've been there all day, you must leave there of an evening absolutely drained.
Changing the field, a short leg has been positioned and a leg slip and an orthodox. That cover point on the boundary has been brought into extra cover, so Root's going on the attack.
In he comes, bowls to Will Young, turns that away, clips it past Pope. Wants a second here as Wood again has to run to go and retrieve the ball. It's not getting much of a breather between overs. And the field was change over again for the left-handed Conway now. So Wood comes up from that boundary position, comes up to field a backward point for the left-hander. I never quite understood the idea of the Wares Wallies all sitting together.
No.
I thought this was sort of one dotted around. There's Root again, bowling. Conway drives in, really lovely stroke that. Doesn't get anything for it. It's fielded at mid-off.
Yeah, but if you come with a group of mates and you all come as Wares Wally, you're not going to all sit in separate parts of the ground, are you?
No. But maybe one should. Root again, bowls, and played by Conway defensively into the leg side, fielded by Pope. And that's the end of the over. Andy Zoltzman.
Joe Root's been effective to left-handers over his career. 21 of his 38 test wickets have been left-handed batsmen. He averages 29 to left-handers, 62 to right-handers. But in the last couple of years, he's been much more effective to right-handed batsmen. 10 of his last 18 wickets have been right-handers, and averaging 37 over those last 2 years. He'd averaged 97 in test cricket before the start of the 2019 summer. So he has found a way of threatening the right-hander more in the last 2-3 years.
Well, he bowled on some helpful pitches in the winter as well, didn't he? What did he get in the winter, actually, above that 5 for 8? But he got amongst them. 3 slips waiting. Young is still on strike. Wood is going to continue. Not much of a rest for him between overs. He's sprinting in now. He's there and he bowls, and Young covers up. He's got a good defence. That's filled in the covers. And there's no run.
It's not a great day if you come as a group of, you send Wares Wally on his own to another part of the ground.
They just make more sense, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but sit on his own.
At least we could all spend the day looking for him.
Yeah, true. Yeah. There used to be a Wares Wally on the ceiling of my dentist.
Is there?
Well, there used to, the big poster on the ceiling. You'd lie back and try and look for Wares Wally on the poster above. Could never find him.
Is that what your dentist has?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
It's rather a good idea, actually.
Yeah. Gives you something to look at.
Well, it distracts you from the drilling. 95 for 1. Wood kicks up his heels again. He's there and he bowls, and Young allows that to go through. So Root's winter
In all, in England's 6 tests, 8 wickets for 160, so average 20, 5 for 8 in 6.2 overs in the first innings of the third test in India. Also had 2 for 0 in the second innings at Gaul of the second of the 2 tests England played there.
Incredible figures. 95 for 1. With Young on strike on 27. New Zealand's going about their business here. Nothing flashy, nothing flamboyant. It's chipping away at England's first innings score. Wood again runs in, bowls on the leg stump, turned by Young into mid-wicket, diving save there, but actually misses the ball. So Anderson's there to retrieve it, running around from mid-on, and it's 96 for 1. Still very cloudy, and the floodlights are on.
Yeah, this is, in a funny way, this is a good challenge for England because, you know, the first 2 wickets of the summer, you go back over the past few years, generally the ball's been zipping around all over the place. You know, England have been bowling teams out and, you know, playing on these kind of wickets. Lords was the same. They're really having to work very, very hard for their wickets. You know, going down the line against India, Australia, starting at the Gabba.
There's Wood bowling outside the off stump. Nothing from Conway.
And they'd be very similar.
Yeah.
You know, the ball won't go laterally through the air that much. It won't be nipping off the seam. England have to find a way of getting 20 wickets on good test match wickets. And that'll be the disappointment at the minute as you see the pitch. It did a bit yesterday, but not a great deal. That, you know, just over 300. And already we can see it's not par, is it?
No.
No, the batting hasn't produced a par score. Par would probably have been 400.
Yeah.
So they're just light on the batting as we see now.
As usual, it's the bowlers who've got to dig you batsmen out of it. 96 for 1. 2 balls left in this over. Wood's on his way and he bowls, and Conway plays no stroke. Bracey collected. Interesting talking to Nathan and Ben at lunchtime about the ball swinging, actually, and the whole science. And this research is being done at Cambridge University at the moment. This sounds incredibly complicated. But the number of arguments that we've had about why the ball swings or doesn't swing, and theories coming in and everything else. In fact, it's taken these professors all this time to put this dossier together, which hasn't yet been released, explaining why a cricket ball swings sometimes, doesn't other times.
But you would think, Aggers, if they get the dossier out and England have it, you know, you would probably win the toss and bowl on a few occasions that necessarily we wouldn't have done in the past.
In goes Wood, bowls full. Conway drives him hard into his right hand, backed up by Anderson. And it ends that over, 96 for 1. Young 28, Conway 56. T is 40 minutes away. It's a lot of cricket left, 43 overs. Yeah, I doubt we'll get all those in today. More from Michael Vaughan, and then Dan Norcross is coming in.
Yeah, England could do with some swing now. Just looking at the New Zealand batters to come. Ross Taylor, he averages 45, Nichols 43, Blundell 38, Mitchell 75, Matt Henry 18, Wagner 14, Patel 7 and Bolt 15. So they've got so much batting to come. Great opportunity here for New Zealand to go big, get a big score, get a lead. And then by the time they're bowled out, the pitch may have been baked a bit more. Patel will come more into the game. It's a real chance this for New Zealand to go extremely large.
Root starts a new over. He bowls to Young, who defends on the front foot, and Bracey puts down a paw and grabs the ball, and there's no run. For England, they'll be ruining. There were two chances in a way. There was the Crawley one that was adjudged not to be out, but was very, very close. Root in, driven, worked really around that front pad to short mid-wicket. There's no run. And there was the genuine chance that Will Young gave to Root. A pretty regulation catch at first slip off Stone, which he shelled. Root in again, tossed up, pushing forward in defences. Young picked up by Bracey. Given back to Root, 96 for 1. England's over rate certainly improving with Root in the attack. He's got a leg slip and a forward short leg to the right-hander, which seems right. There was a ball that went through that vacant position an over or so ago. Full driving is Young, but just gets the inside half of the bat, and the ball rolls back up the wicket to Root. Young remains on 28. He's ridden his luck. He's not looked as fluent as Conway. Conway has been, frankly, immaculate. Yet again, root in, driving up to root, straight back to the bowler is Young, and there's no run. Another full ball. We have a cover, a mid-off. Mid-on is quite deep, possibly even take the single to Anderson there. There's a shortish mid-wicket, and there's a deeper mid-wicket, a different line. And there's a deep backward square leg. We haven't seen a sweep at all from Young. There's been no attempt at aggression really at root. He's about to finish his 5th over. He's conceded 7 runs. He's in. That is floated up a little bit more, pushed into the offside, where it's fielded by Dominic Sibley. There's no run. A maiden over, 96 for 1. Young has 28. Conway has 56. Jeremy Coney walked into the box, talking about how you might get Conway out. I can't, apart from a plague of locusts, I can't quite see how it happens. There's no... I've not seen anyone more assured for a while. His game looks sort of perfect. What's the plan, Michael? You're a captain. Get him out.
Oh, he's a good player, so you're going to have to bowl very well, but you're going to have to be very, very disciplined. He may make a mistake if you bowl into channel, might play a big drive, but I think he has one, and it's not a flaw, it's just a slight block off from balls on and around leg stump. I think he just gets shut off slightly, just plays across that front pad. When it's straight middle and off, he plays it back down the ground. When it's on that leg stump, just gets shut off. So I'd be trying to get the ball angled into that kind of leg stump line.
Wood starts a new over, round the wicket to Conway. He pulls a short ball without timing down to deep backward square leg for a single. 97 for 1.
But that would be with a short leg in position, a short mid wicket, and you'd have to be relentless and so accurate, because if you get slightly onto a round off stump, he's got great hands that he'll probably just glide it into the gaps. If you go just wider of that, we've seen that he drives through the covers beautifully, and if you're short, he takes on the pull shot, so he's really relentless around the knee roll kind of height just above, on and around that leg stump.
How about, the one thing we haven't seen tried yet, I suppose it's difficult to do, isn't it? As Wood is in, and that's short, ducking is Young. It's rather dangerous. He almost ducked into it, actually. Mercifully, the line was outside the off stump. I don't know whether a short ball coming into the ribs somehow. If you do it from over the wicket, it's not going to have quite the same impact. He's coming round the wicket when he's delivering the short ball mostly.
They've tried a few, and he's just pulled it down to backward square leg. So, he's onto the short stuff quickly. But there's not much of a weakness, I have to be honest. But just that line on leg stump, I do feel that there's an opportunity that he may just kind of get an inside edge. He might get one flicked and short mid wicket.
Wood in. Over the wicket, the right-hander Young, short again, and sways out of the way, goes down onto a knee as Young and lets it pass through into the gloves of Bracey. Are you concerned at all that England haven't really found much in the way of swing? We saw Bolt and Wagner really move the ball, and indeed this morning Bolt was getting some movement.
If it's swing, it's a different proposition to Devon Conway, because you'll be able to manoeuvre him with the swing, but when it's going pretty much gun barrel like it is now, it's very, very difficult. I just thought... You need a spinner on a pitch like this. You need a frontline spinner.
They're suffering, aren't they, for not having that all-rounder to balance out that side. That's the issue for England at the moment. Wood in over the wicket, and it's wide of the off stump through to the keeper, no run. What we haven't seen too much from Wood, he's done it 1 or 2 times, but is that leap out wide. Who did he get out with that ball? Was it Taylor? It wasn't Taylor, was it? You'll be able to tell me when he was. Caught behind, as I recall. Taylor. It was Taylor. There's a sight that's walked into the box.
So that suggests to me at tea time he's going on the television into the Holly stand. Oh, he's come to tell me that I'm going with him.
No. Wood is in. Bowls a full ball outside the off stump, a tumbling take by Bracey. So you understand. Are we allowed to say can I say what I see? As they say in catchphrase. A slightly, I wouldn't say disgruntled, rueful. A rueful looking Elvis has walked into the box disguised as Phil Tufnell. I think that's the way to describe it. Carrying his wig. And was this the outfit that Freddie wore on finals days? It's similar, isn't it? So I think we're sending him out to be to a pack of wolves in the Holly stand. What do you make of it, Zoltz, after this ball? Wood runs in to complete his over. Right arm over the wicket, full, defended into the offside off the front foot, goes square of the wicket. End of that over, 97 for 1. Young 28, Conway 57.
Well, it's an all-white suit. Don't see why England couldn't play Test cricket in an Elvis outfit.
I hadn't even thought about that.
The Elvis fans be buying the replica kits in their droves. In terms of the amount of swing both teams have got, according to the Cricketers Hawkeye ball tracking data, New Zealand were getting approximately 3 times as much swing in terms of the distance that the ball swung on average. However, England have moved it more off the seam. What on earth is going on here?
It's Philly singing.
Oh my lord.
John Arlott's turning in his grave.
I'm turning and I'm not in the grave. Wow. I've never seen a more sort of soporific Elvis actually than Tuffers as Root starts a new over and Conway defends at the wicket. He sort of walked in and looked like he was going to go have a bit of a snooze.
Well, I'm on television with him in a minute, and I think it's for that.
Oh, well, really. Root in, worked into the onside by Conway off the back foot, but straight to Crawley at mid-wicket. There's no run. Are you going to have to dress up as well?
I don't know. I'm just going to go next door and try and see what outfit I'll be in.
Patsy Cline, maybe?
Oh, steady on.
Fired into leg stump, swung at, swept down to the boundary for 4. That's a great shot from Conway because there is a deep backward square leg, Dom Sibley, and he's lost the ball. Actually, it was hit with such vigour, and there it is. It's in front of the sponge, right on the boundary sponge, and it was wide of leg stump. It was fired in down that leg side, and Conway just took toll of it. Often that would come as a bit of a surprise because it was faster, flatter and down leg side, but he's got it down to the boundary. The 100 is up, 101 for 1 as Conway defends his next delivery on the front foot into the onside. Crawley picks up. Michael Vaughan's gone to put on a Fred Flintstone costume or something similar. Phil Tufnell's about to be fed to the Holly stand by the sounds of things. Root in, driven for on drive. Well, a wonderful on drive. He's going to bring 4 runs for Conway. There's a despairing diving attempt, and the despair perhaps is that might actually have reached that. Who was that fielding it mid-on there? Did you catch sight? 105 for 1, a couple of 4s in this over from Root, and Conway has moved to 65 from 115. He's destroying England. I've got a bone to pick with Jeremy Coney about Devon Conway.
Really?
Yes. You said that 1 in every 4 innings Devon Conway will get you. Well, it's 2 in 3 at the moment.
Well,
1 in 4, I think England fans would have been able to handle. But this is remorseless from the great man as he goes back into his crease and pushes up to mid-off, wide mid-off. Anderson Fields, end of the over. A productive one for New Zealand, 105 for 1. Young 28, Conway 65. Half an hour to go until tea. 40 overs remaining in the day. We might get them. We actually might get them again. Jeremy, welcome back.
thank you.
New Zealand are, at the moment, dominating proceedings. They've had a terrific session. If you contrast this with England's session with the bat, the corresponding session yesterday, the ball's not moving for England, for England at all. The bowlers are getting nothing out of it, and the batters are playing in a very contained fashion. They're in total control of the match.
Yeah, well, it's been fairly vigilant and circumspect kind of accumulation, hasn't it, from New Zealand throughout this whole session so far. Two very different players, really. Young, both trying to find their ways, but certainly Conway looks, he just occasionally moves into a very elegant and graceful drive, doesn't he? Or he leans on one that just goes to third man, and there's a complete absence of luck about
No
it.
luck. There's no luck.
But Young is working hard, and I'm sure the New Zealand lot will be very happy with the way that he's dug in here.
Broad comes into the attack, starts a new over. His first ball is full on off stump, work to Burns at mid-wicket. There's no run. Can I ask Andy, do you have access to control stats? Because I'd love to know
whether Devon Conway has been unusually in control. He feels to me to have been unusually in control. And I might be wrong, but it has felt that way. He's barely put a foot wrong. There was a false pull or hook a few overs ago, and that's been about it. As Broad is into the right-handed Young. It's full outside the off stump through the keeper. There's no run. Not quite got his mojo back yet, Broad, as he just starts this new spell. Jonathan Agnew will tell you. You can tell whether it's all going to go right for Broad by his heels and his knees.
And the knees up.
Knees up, heels up.
Mother.
Yep, there was just a little bit of an ambly jog to that ball. You sort of knew exactly what was going to happen, but he'll crank himself up, I think. There's a crowd here. And he bowled a terrific spell before lunch, which was pretty luckless in the end. He did get a wicket. And he possibly should have had Conway, depending on your view. Not that that matters, of course. Outside the off stump, driven firmly by Young. Into the ground and up and over backward point for 4. It's a good shot, that. Safe shot. Slightly away from his body, may encourage Broad, but well executed square drive takes Young into the 30s. He has 32, 109 for 1.
Yes, just too much width there from Broad. A scrambled seam wide and induced a big drive, a square drive from Young, and it really just leapt up and over the backward point. So he'll be delighted with that, and he's now moved into the 30s. He's had to work pretty hard to get there. He's looked a little bit uncomfortable at times, but I do think that the surface is favouring New Zealand, and they're going to have probably 3 or 4 sessions where before it starts to, if it's going to misbehave, it'll be at that point.
Broad in, forward comes Young, defence solidly up to mid-on. There's no run.
So New Zealand could well find they've been able to get the better part of the surface, really, in terms of the game. They do have, of course, as you say, the spinner. And maybe he will come into the game later on if New Zealand can somehow get up to England and somehow get a bit of a lead. But that's looking a long way down this, the game, isn't in the journey of the game.
England have only themselves to blame on that score, though. They won the toss. They could have bowled first, or they could have batted better. A lot of the players gave their wickets away yesterday as Broad is in, full, defended on the front foot. Back to the bowler, and there's no run. 109 for 1. Conway 65, Young 32. Andy, do you have data for me?
The Gritquiz have a false shot percentage.
I thought they did.
Conway's is not particularly low.
Isn't it?
About 1 in 6 shots in this innings.
Really?
Categorised as a false shot, which...
Well, they're being harsh.
They are being harsh. However, they also measure percentage shots with a good connection, so a well-timed shot.
Yes.
And he's timed 13% of his shots.
13?
Well.
Okay. Broad is in. Oh, that beats Young. The crowd go up.
Well,
the
he
umpire
doesn't
does not go up. They're appealing for LBW because they think that's brushed his front pad, but it went high and over the stumps into the gloves of Bracey. I mean, this would be a very unusual referral, I think, because the trajectory of the ball was just taking that ball over the stumps and into the... I didn't quite understand what the kerfuffle was about there.
Well, the kerfuffle was that he didn't play a shot. And once that was the case, but it's really gone very high, so the length was the issue there for Broad and for England.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
so
I mean, it brushed at best
the back leg.
The bit of bit of trouser, and it didn't deviate from its path. So I'm afraid it was a great leave. That's what it was. And Broad for a moment felt like appealing, but I'm afraid the laws of physics were very much against him on that score. 109 for 1. It's a good ball. It was close to off stump, but it didn't hit it, and it was well left by Young. The crowd came to life, though, with that as Root starts up another over, his 7th in this spell. Back into his crease goes Conway, punches off the back foot for 4 into the offside. A fine shot. I want to come back to this, 113 for 1. I seem to be watching an entirely different game from Crickbiz. He's on to 69.
To put it in context, so they categorised timing as what they've got on the system I'm looking at now: percentage of balls with a good connection, a neutral connection, so a sort of defensive shot, no shot, and a false shot. Conway's good timing rating for this innings is one of the highest for this series.
Root into Conway, who defends. A little jabby, stabby prod of a defence.
See, how would you report that last shot?
I think that would be neutral.
Neutral, okay.
Neutral, yes. Neutral.
It's only Root's second innings at Lords.
Root in, round the wicket. Forward comes Conway, plays another neutral shot, back up the ground. Back up to Root, there's no run.
And Neil Wagner's pyrotechnic 25 off 21. There's been a higher percentage of well-timed shots in this series.
Root in, once more. Another neutral defensive prod back up the wicket to Root. There's no run again.
Well, I guess there's degrees of full shot within that. There's the slight inside edge, and then there's the play and miss and the ball.
Right.
So I guess all these things need a little interpretation and context.
Conway sweeps this next ball, gets it quite fine. Sibley, though, will cut it off as he runs around to his left, and they'll just pick up one run. That went to sort of fine leg, and Sibley's at a finer long leg or deep backward square leg than he was before. Conway moves to 70 with that, 114 for one. Young 32. New Zealand going very comfortably. England have fought their way back into the game from a really extraordinary position. Having lost those wickets, which didn't look likely yesterday afternoon. Root in, and that's cut, late cut, a dab really from Young. And he gets it down towards the deep third boundary. It's being chased by Rory Burns, who slides and pulls it back in. And they come back for two to the batters, 116 for one. Young 34, Conway 70. We've had 39 overs. Since that sort of low point, I guess, when England lost their sixth wicket, they fought their way back to 303, but we're seeing now that this pitch has little in it for the quicker bowlers, and if the ball isn't going to swing, which it hasn't done for England today, what's in their armoury?
Well, 8 runs from the route over, and that means, of course, if New Zealand continue to just accumulate runs from route with some safety, then where does he go? He's really got to go back to the 4 fast bowlers again, and so that's the issue that confront England at this stage. If Root can't bowl nice tidy overs to keep the over rate going and to keep New Zealand under pressure, then I'm afraid we're going to have a very low over rate, and also the faster bowlers are going to eventually get fatigued.
I'll do this ball. Broad's running in away from us to the left-handed Conway. He's got 2 slips, left alone, through to the keeper, Bracey. It's time for me to leave. Alison Mitchell's coming. I'm so sorry, I've just stolen a ball.
You're never going to be able to give that back now, are you? Thank you, Daniel. 116 for one then. Yeah, it's been slow but steady progress from New Zealand since the dropped catch when Will Young was on 7. Very few moments of real alarm. And Conway 17 odd out as he faces up now to Broad with the 2 slips in place. Broad in past the umpire, the floodlights on, bowling full, coming forward and driving, but only as far as Anderson at mid-off, and there's no run.
I have a couple of issues about the drop catch, actually. Well, not about that particular catch. I mean, how do your slips set up, and how do New Zealand, and how in fact do most slips set up around the world at the moment? How do they get ready?
Are you talking about their pre-delivery routine?
The slips. You watch, wait until Broad starts to run in, and then let the slips take their position, and just describe it to me after it goes through, okay?
Do you want the description now?
Yeah, fine.
Leaning forward, hands on both knees as the ball's bowled now. Now they go down and get their hands into cup position, and the ball has been clipped to short mid-wickets.
You see, the first thing I have a bit of an issue about is the hands on the knees. When you put your hands on your knees, you find that the weight, in fact, on your legs, moves to the heels. Now, that's not a state of readiness for me. Boxers don't go around a ring on their heels, nor do dancers dancing in the stars or whatever you call it here. They're on the balls of their feet.
Strictly
so they're
slip fielding.
Absolutely. So to move around and perform athletic movements.
Here's Broad in now, taking on the pull shot, swivel around the corner, 2 fielders, sliding stop inside the rope, and Stone as it sends the ball back into the middle. A couple of runs added.
So yes. I don't think when you're fielding slip to, say, Stone, who's bowling at maybe 90, say, so time it's hit, it might be slowing slightly. But it's quite an athletic movement you need to your right or left or wherever you go. And I don't think having weight back helps that, gives you the best chance. The second thing is, when you put your hands on your knees, you have separated what I would call the unit, which is your two hands that work together when you take a catch. So they start from a separate position.
Root's got his together a little earlier on that occasion. Some good carry through to Bracey. I'm now sort of half watching the ball being bowled and half watching the slips. And you're right.
But most of slips around the world will put their hands on their knees. Why? They say it's comfortable. It's a sort of a semi-comfortable position. But fielding slip isn't comfortable. When you get a ball in the slips, generally it's going to be a catch. It's a critical moment in the day, and you need to be ready to take it. So if you want to rest, go and get a couch, frankly. So you don't need to take that position.
Broad in now on middle stump, clip to mid-wicket. Burns is there along the ground, picks up, no run to end that over.
One, it's easier to also start low and to go up is much easier than being high and going down. You're in a halfway position there when it's on your knees. So I have a bit of an issue with that. And the second thing, the depth is an issue as well. I don't think you can set a position as a slip fieldsman and stay stagnating in that position for that particular bowler. What if he's in his 16th over? What if he's in his 20th over? There is some energy gone from the bowler. He's not quite as quick. You move up. What if the second new ball is taken? You move back slightly because the new ball is going to bounce a little bit more and carry, therefore, further to the slip fieldsman. If you have a batsman that is going to attack, and some batsmen, like Ollie Pope and co, they like to drive the ball a lot, and so the bat is moving faster by the time it makes contact with the edge of the bat with the ball. So it flies further. So you're back a little bit for those batsmen as opposed to Sibley, the vicar, and who's generally with a stationary bat hitting it, and you'll be up closer for someone like him. So you are constantly, I think, making decisions about the depth of where you stand as a slips fieldsman. You cannot remain stagnant for the day. And I see quite a few slips fieldsmen doing that.
Yeah, I was going to say, the observations being that...
Well, you can see where their feet have been,
We've decided this is our setup for this bowl or this innings.
Even if it's only 6 or 7 inches that you go forward. Think of it, was it... Who put the catch? Was it Crawley?
Well, Crawley's was the low catch.
Well, now imagine if he was 6 inches further up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're talking about small margins, but those kinds of decisions about your depth they're critical.
And at that point, that was Broad quite early in his spell, wasn't he? So they probably would have expected
a wee bit more bounce,
full flight. But
and you can also expect a bit more of a defensive stroke.
Mark Wood is going to continue, but change of ends for him now, coming on from the City end of the ground. Ollie Pope's got the helmet on to position himself at short leg. No slips in place here for Conway. 71 not out. Jimmy Anderson's fielding in front of the Holly stands, you can probably hear. So Wood bounding in now, short ball taken on the pull. It is for Anderson to move across to his right. Dive, doesn't get a hand to it, and it's 4.
Oh, brilliant shot. 2 men right on the boundary, both behind square.
Crawley as well as Anderson, wasn't it? Crawley running to his right, Anderson to his left.
And he's bisected them quite and comfortably and really getting a good contact on that ball as well. Mark Wood's going to have to, if he's bowling like that, he's got to get further over outside the off stump. Not too far because it brings in the cut.
Yeah, we've got a 6-3 leg side field here. The only Wood in again, swivel pull once more, same region. Anderson able to cut it off this time. Crowd enjoyed that. And Conway moves on to 76 with the single, 122 for 1. In reply to England's 303 all out, remember. Andy?
To put in context what a fine start this is for New Zealand. The last 5 summers in England, so going back to 2017, it's the 27th test. And looking at first innings scores after 40 overs, New Zealand are the first visiting team to reach 40 overs against England in the first innings of a test in this country in those last 5 years, with only 1 wicket down, 117 for 1. It's been one of the toughest places in the world to be a visiting batsman, and Conway, frankly, is putting in one of the finest series we've seen from an overseas player.
Yeah, New Zealand have, as they climbed to unit number 1 in the world for good reason, performing away from home in England. Got to see it through the end of this test match. Around the wood again, leg side, taking it on over the head of square leg, and Burns is on the boundary to field. One bounce into the hands of Burns. So we're seeing a Wagner-esque type of attack here. Short ball, leg theory, stack the leg side. And of course he's being invited to pull, and he's saying, okay, yes, please, but he's seeing it well, the stage of the innings that he's at.
Well, I think that Conway generally comes from very high down on top of the ball, and that looks, the 2 shots early in the over looked very safe and secure, didn't they? Whereas that stroke was just in the air a little bit. I think Young has to be pretty careful at this pace, but it's Conway facing.
Around the wicket again, Wood shorts, clattered in front of square this time into the ground, out to deep mid-wicket where it's fielded. Another single taken, throw comes back into the gloves of Bracey.
See, this is really saying that, to me, pitching up isn't working.
Yeah.
It's saying our spinners aren't working quite, it's not turning, there's no swing. So we're going to try another method. And it's going to be tiring for Wood if he keeps this going, unless, of course, he gets some success with the method.
He talked at Lord's, didn't he, about having plans A, B and C, whether this was the plan D. Stack the leg side field. Short leg, square leg, mid-wicket, deep backward square, fine leg. Wood in, short one again, batted into the ground once more, backward of square. Burns there again at deep backward square leg. Another one taken, and controlled, well kept down, reducing that margin of error.
It'd be interesting to know how often Wood uses this to try and dismiss batsmen. I wouldn't have thought it was his first, second or third option, frankly. So how accurate will he be? How sort of sympathetic will the surface be to this kind of thing? He's having to probably work pretty hard to get it up.
Yeah, there's not much pace to assist him, is there? Bounce, and that one's again a comfortable height to pull. Swiveling as he goes around the corner. Anderson again with a clean pickup in front of the rope this time, in the corner of the Holly stanza, appreciating that and giving Jimmy Anderson a bit of hero worship. Why not? But it's the end of the over, 126 for 1. Conway 78, Young on 36.
See how many off that, Andy?
That was a 4 and 5 singles, so 9
runs. You see.
Yeah,
that's the other issue, is that if New Zealand start to score comfortably from that, and I mentioned Root a moment ago with the 7 or 8 off an over, it just reduces your options quite a lot as about who is going to bowl. And there's a lot of talk going on now. Anderson and Broad are talking. England really desperately need something, don't they? Just a half chance to give, to feel they're in the
elation
game.
Again.
Yeah,
they need that buoyancy.
The partnership now up to 111 from 35.2 overs. Devon Conway's just passed 300 runs in Test cricket in just his second match. He's only the 10th player in Test history to do so.
And looking utterly unruffled. Broad bounding in full, straight back up the pitch. Coming forward and driving. 2 slips are back in place now. We can talk a little bit more about those in a moment. But yeah, it can be, with the runs being scored, that's where the momentum can really heavily shift, because yes, whilst England didn't feel like they were taking a wicket, when the scoring rate was at least contained, they could get a sense of, well, we're not getting a wicket, but New Zealand are not really getting away from us too quickly. And that was actually England's undoing, wasn't it, in the first innings, when they did suddenly lose 3 wickets quickly, 175 for 6 as they were. That's suddenly a big difference, but if runs get added quickly, very different complex. Change of ball, Jeremy, might help England. Gone out of shape. We've got the 4th umpire coming down the steps with a replacement box of balls. So Richard Kettleborough here will have to choose one of a similar age and see if it will, for England, they'll want to see if it can aid them a little bit more than the one they've currently got, perhaps. But Martin Saggers is the 4th umpire who comes out with the box of balls.
The previous 9 players to score 300 in their first 2 tests haven't all gone on to have stellar careers. Some have Zahir Abbas, great Pakistan player, Sunil Gavaskar, one of the all-time greats of Indian cricket. Other than that, Umar Akmal, Saurav Ganguly had a fine career, of course. Yasir Hamid didn't really do a lot for Pakistan after a fine debut test. Abid Ali, currently playing for Pakistan. Lawrence Rowe, the late Phil Hughes, and Tip Foster, way back in the early 20th century, who has the most runs in his first 2 innings, 355, 287 of them in a sensational debut century in the 1903-04 Ashes. An innings they still talk about on a daily basis in the bars and nightclubs.
Still remember that one clearly. Whilst you were talking, Andy, there was a sole solitary pitch
incursion.
invader, yes, who was marshalled off the field. Wasn't rugby tackled, but I think rather herded off the field in the way 3 or 4 marshals, sort of rather like sheepdogs would herd somebody, herd sheep sort of through a gate. He has been herded off the pitch, so yeah, that will incur a hefty fine. Stuart Broad then has a changed ball in his hand, and every effort now to see, as we approach tee, can England break up this stand? It's been frustrating for them. It's been a session of real toil, going wicketless so far since the 6th over of the innings when Latham was dismissed. So just a pause, because the final steward, who came jogging out onto the field, I think possibly to protect the square or the players, he didn't come into play, but he's now exited the field. Broad into Conway, past the outside edge of the bat, drew him forward in defensive fashion. This little bit of away movement into the gloves of Bracey, and Broad's got a little bit of a half smile on his face as he's walking back to the end of his mark now. Maybe this change of ball will produce something.
Yeah, that just moved a little bit more than the previous deliveries. So just a little bit of movement away from Conway there, beats the sort of the forward press, if you like. Conway having a smile himself. Now, of course, the change coming over with that movement. Of course, now he's going back Broad to this, going wide on the crease, round the wicket, in at the left-hander, and getting it to swing away.
The 2 slips, hands on knees. Now down they go, and Broad, that one doesn't really shape away. Carries on through, but Conway leaving it alone. And he's been in long enough to have good judgments, but conditions always just change. It will settle, changes across the course of the day, whether it's atmospheric, it's the ball, it's the change of bowler. So taking a fresh guard with the change of angle as well. 126 for 1, approaching tee on day 2. Broad asking Burns, who is at backward point, to just move a few paces deeper. Broad races in away from us, around the wicket from wide of the crease, angled into Conway's forward to get on the drive, but then studies the toe end of his bat. He didn't strike that cleanly. Up to mid-on and no run. Hasn't split the batty? No. Wasn't too happy about the contact. I think the bat handle twizzling in his grip as well. So the ideal timing then, Jeremy, in the standing, going back to the slips conversation, we've got Root and Sibley. Root currently arms folded, but he'll release those now, and now spread the legs, again leaning forward. He's taken a slight half stride forward. Thor through him into the gloves of Bracey, again drawing Conway forward with that defensive push. He's leaning on his bat handle. He knows he was beaten. And suddenly there is just a little change up of intensity with this change of ball.
Yes, it certainly has moved a lot more. That's moved after, and quite well taken by Bracey, actually. Sometimes you just get a better one,
Give respect to the ball and the bowler.
Well, it's the reason, of course, they want to change it.
Broad running in, field moves in, defending into the onside, coming forward, picked up, and no run. So change of ball, finding a little bit extra movement. 126 for 1. Look, we're going to get another over in before the tea break here. England another opportunity to see if they can make this breakthrough they so desperately want, but a maiden from Broad with that over of his. Holly stand finding their voice again. As we stretch up to the tea break, a couple of bananas are leaping up and down. Where's Wally contingent not being terribly Where's Wally, Jeremy, are they? Because they're all in a big cluster.
They're the stripy ones, aren't they?
They are. I thought the point of a Where's Wally was there's one in a sea.
We don't get that in New Zealand.
Oh, do you not?
Where's Wally? No, I don't think so.
They're the red and white.
Yes, I can see them there.
Jumpers and hats. During the tea break, maybe having mentioned Where's Wally in silly topics, the TMS quiz, Silly Pointless, is on the way at tea. I think, Andy, are you in the co-chair of that with Daniel? Yeah.
Now, because the ball has swung, Ali, we'll bowl the last over, please, with Jimmy Anderson.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, doesn't it?
Does indeed. Mark Wood had his go. The old ball, the previous ball. 3 slips then. Anderson in, bowling full to Young's forward, back up the pitch. And fielded at mid-off. So we'll see if Anderson can find the same sort of movement that we saw from Broad. Looking a little cooler out there. The grey skies, floodlights leaning forward over the ground. It's like they're in a crouch position, straining their lights, their eyes down on the action. Anderson, sweatband on his left wrist. In now to Young bowls full. A hint of movement outside that off stump, but it's left alone by Young. Not tempted into playing a shot. Joe Root gives the ball a furious rub. The long sleeves of his shirt, pulling those cuffs over his hands as he does so. Conway was on 22 when Zach Crawley thought he'd held a low catch. Stuart Broad was the bowler. He was given not out. He's now on 78, and Will Young, remember, was on 7 when Joe Root put him down at slip. Ollie Stone was the bowler there. With Anderson in outside the off stump, a shouldering of arms from Young, and through once more to Bracey.
No movement though.
It's not the same as when Broad bowled it, is it? It's funny, end to end and action to action.
Well, it's into the breeze, that end, isn't it? You would think, if anything, it would help maybe a little bit of a way swing, if anything.
Notably a bit more breeze than yesterday, isn't there? A little bit of
and that's
ruffle
been
on
the
the
difference.
trousers.
It's cooler, and it disturbs all the kind of the air around and above the wicket where the ball obviously is operating. The more still that air is above the pitch, the more chance you have of swinging it.
Anderson sets off past the umpire and bowls outside the off stump once more. Young took a step towards the offside, raised the bat above his head to go through again. He's intent on getting through to tea, seeing off these last couple of deliveries. On to go chasing after anything, knowing that they can come out, resume this very healthy partnership in excess of 100 runs, come back out and really make this a good day for New Zealand if they can continue to compile deep into the evening session. Keep wickets intact. Ross Taylor's had an awfully long time so far with the pads on, hasn't he, in the dressing room?
Yes, he has.
Anderson a little word with Mark Wood now before he sets off. There now and bowls tighter outside edge, but it's flown away wide of third slip towards the third deep third boundary. Goes for 4. Zach Crawley and Burns were making chase from slip and backward points, but there's a healthy outside edge of the bat, but always safely angled down into the ground, into the gap.
A lot of runs have gone to third man, either end, haven't they? Where it's just indicative, I think, of a slower surface. It just, any movement away is not snappy enough to take that outside edge and carry through to the slips. It's much thicker edge and runs away.
Anderson in, should be the last ball before tea outside the off stump. There was a little bit of movement there, past the stumps, into the gloves of Bracey, and Young didn't want to play a shot, and so the umpires flicked the bails off the stumps. And that is tea on day 2, a session where England have gone wicketless here at Edgbaston. It's been an afternoon of toil, and Anderson is walking back looking a little weary. Joe Root with the catch that was dropped. Zach Crawley is getting a pat on the shoulder from Rory Burns. And Crawley, who held on to what may or may not have been a catch, umpires judging it not out, that the ball was grasped between the fingers. At the same time, it was then scooped up by Crawley. So a hard afternoon for England, and it's going to be a hard evening session for them as well. But all credit to the 2 batsmen as they walk off. Devon Conway and Will Young. Jeremy, they have put in a fine couple of hours, fine stint for the team.
Yes, they have, haven't they? As I mentioned earlier, just that vigilance about their batting and accumulation. They've played the odd, sort of attacking stroke, but that's not what we'll remember. It's more of the battle, I think, between bat and ball that has dominated that session and play of cricket there. New Zealand, what is that, 130 runs?
And you have that in the session?
Yeah, is that in the session? I think they were 43 when they started. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think I'm right. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
87 runs in the
87,
session.
sorry, yeah.
43 for one,
That's
29
right.
overs, 87 runs in the session, so 3 and over. Okay.